Good morning. Good morning. So I'm gonna do a quick video. I don't know if it'll be quick or not, but it'll be a video on just some basic stock research. Um, so we're gonna try to find some hedges within a universe of stocks. I'm gonna explain a little bit about what hedging is and why people do it or investors do it, and then we're gonna write up some code, which is essentially research. Um, yeah, this is purely for research, so take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. And if you like it, continue to do stuff like this because I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, so say you are investing in something and you do your research, you find a stock that you really like, and you really believe in it, and you want to buy it. You want to go ahead and buy that stock, right? So what you have to ask yourself, what if it goes the other way? What if it doesn't play out as you want it to play out? So if you put a certain amount or percentage of your portfolio at risk, you also want to like safeguard it a bit. And this is where hedging comes in. So if your situation or if your play doesn't work out, buy something that can make up for those losses. Um, and that's what a hedge is. You're gonna reduce your overall profit if it does go your way, but it also reduces the total risk that you um, yeah, it reduces the losses, but it reduces the profit as well. But pretty like an investor usually does hedge within their ideas because like a season one will understand like, hey, it doesn't always go your way. So like on Investopedia, they define a hedge as like investors hedge one investment by making a trade in another. The purpose of a hedge is to reduce your risk in your initial idea. The most pure and common like hedge is an option uh, of the stock that you take are going long. Say let's say Beyond Meat. Say you think my roommate's super into Beyond Meat. He's even buying Beyond Meat. I think he's going vegetarian to support the cause or to support his portfolio. But say you're going long Beyond Meat. This looks kind of like a Head and Shoulders pattern to me. Probably going down but, in the near future. But you believe in it, and you're gonna see. You want to take position within Beyond Meat, right? So you believe Beyond Meat is gonna go way up, but what if it doesn't? So what you would do is say so Beyond Meat's at 140 right now, right? And a pure hedge would be taking in options. Um, I say pure because a hedge is ultimately related to correlation. So their correlation is from -1 to 1. 1 meaning it's purely correlated, meaning if it goes up, this stock X goes up, stock Y also goes up. -1 is opposite. So like if stock X goes up, stock Y goes down. So we're at 140. Say you bought Beyond Meat at 140, uh, X amount of dollars, whatever it is. A hedge would be a put option at about 140. You would ideally want it at the price that you bought the stock for. Um, but when if you really think about it, it's a nice play, but these options are kind of expensive. What if you're in a smaller position and you only put like $1,000 into 140, $1,000 into Beyond Meat, and you're trying to reduce your risk, but this option contract is quite expensive, $420. So 42, so you're almost 50-50 at that point. 42% of your trade is betting on that it is betting on that you're going the Beyond Meat's going to go down. So let me think about that for a second. So you put 1,000 in. So overall trade is 1420, and then I forgot. 420. So out of your whole position, 30%, you're putting 30% into something that you really don't. It's more of a safety net, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And there's certain stocks that have cheaper options, and which is like understandable. But there's stocks like Beyond Meat is very volatile. So one of the options depends on 5 main variables, and to price an option, and volatility is like the biggest factor. Because Beyond Meat swings a lot. Sometimes it's at 53, then it's at 193. Like highs at 235. It opened up at 56. It's all over the place. So options pricing for Beyond Meat is going to be quite pricey. So so the idea is, what we're going to code is, you have an idea and the options price is too much for it to act as a hedge. Let's find some other stocks that are correlated or negatively correlated to Beyond Meat, and if we get a list of those stocks, then we can make a play on those stocks if they happen to be cheaper. And in that way, you reduce the total percentage that you put as like an insurance policy, which an option in this case as hedging would be. And if it does hit, it hits. Like the beauty of options is it's inherently leveraged. So if it goes your way, you're really happy. So you decrease your losses quite a bit by that. So with that said, let's start coding. Okay. So let's import a couple of libraries that we're going to need. So we're going to need NumPy. We're going to use that. They have an easy way to find correlations, some built-in functions. We're going to use pandas because pandas is really nice. It's just, things are just elegantly put. We're going to need date time. Oh, come on. What is this? Okay, so we're going to need pandas data reader. So if you don't have that installed, PIP, so any of these libraries, if you don't have it installed, PIP, install it. We're coding in Python, by the way. That's what I code in. We're going to graph some stuff at the end, so we're going to need matplotlib. And we're going to make it pretty, so I'm going to import style from matplotlib. We will be using a CSV, and I'll show you in a second. And if we need troubleshoot, let's just import time for a second. So, we like Beyond Meat, blah, blah, blah. Actually, let's see if Beyond Meat's even on this. Ooh, oh yeah, it's not a part of the S&P 500. So I downloaded the CSV. I just typed in S&P 500 CSV, and it's one of the first links. There are 506 stocks on this CSV. this is going to be our universe of tickers to compare against. And ideally, there's more than 500 stocks, and you're limiting yourself. But the purpose of like giving an example, we'll use this. So your universe will have thousands of stocks, 4,000, 8,000, whatever it is, depending on the exchanges, depending on penny stocks, depending on large caps, whatever you want your research to be based off of. You should find and develop yourself a universe of stocks to go with. We're doing this for simplicity's sake, and you could just do a quick Google and find this CSV. I'll even put the link on it. So within that universe, we're going to go with Beyond Meat is our thing, is our idea. We think Beyond Meat is going to go to the moon. So ticker 1. That's our idea. We're going to name as Beyond Meat. Then we're going to have some start and end dates. We're going to, this is, give me 1 second. So this is the date we gathered the data from. We'll do like a year and 15 days, beginning of January 2020, ending at January 21, this last Friday, January 15th, 2021. And those are going to be the period that we're going to get our data from. Compare Beyond Meat to the rest of the 500 stocks with. And that brings us to this. So in a data, your screen times. What does that mean? Okay. So this, the web.data reader, I think it's just a library that pulls stock data. This is how I got started, and I think that there's people use this quite a bit. I think it's just scraping data off of Yahoo Finance. And this will give us, I'll show you. Let's print out like the first 10. So it gives us data for Beyond Meat, and these are the dates. This is the head of it, so the very beginning. If I did tail, it would be the very end, 2021, 115, blah, blah, blah. But it's just OHLCV data, open, high, low, close, and volume data. And you could get that for whatever the stock you need is. So then let's make a empty variable ticker list, and you'll see in a second what that's going to hold all your universe of stock tickers, and it's just going to be a little easier to iterate through those lists and gather data rather than open up the CSV all the time. We do need to upload that CSV. So in that case, we're going to find that CSV. Locate the file where it's at, and then put it there, and I believe it's called SP500. Oh wait, was it that one? Oh, okay, I'll do this one. What's this one? YouTube. Okay. And then we're just going to read it into it and append into our ticker list our universe of stock. It's a CSV, comma separated variables or values. So the delivers comma. And then we're going to go through those rows and append those rows. And it's going to be the 0th column because we want this row. And we're going to have this, we might have a little error because of this symbol, because that's not a stock, but we'll, I'll get to that in a second. So, see if we did that right. Print ticker list. Yep, those are our stocks. Those are the 500 stocks, 506 stocks, or whatever it was. So that is there. Now we have what we need to iterate through. So then let's create a dictionary. And it's for the correlation. It'll have the ticker, the associated ticker, and the correlation coefficient. And for troubleshooting, list or so we're going to go through that list of the CSV, like your universe, and some of these tickers are not going to be available on Yahoo Finance or our data reader. And just for for us to know, we'll create like a little variable, and hey, this will, if it is not available, we'll make note of it and it will be used for the future, because there's no point continuously trying to call that ticker if it's no longer available or Yahoo Finance doesn't have the data for it. So now let's just start iterating through stuff. Let's print out the symbol we're on. And this is where we're going to call another data frame. So let's just copy and paste this. And instead of ticker 1, we're going to call the first ticker in your CSV, because we're comparing it against Beyond Meat, right? And then we're going to find the correlation coefficient. And this is where NumPy comes in. It has a nice little function to do that. And you're going to compare the first one, which is your Beyond Meat. We'll do adjusted close. And then df2, which is the data you just pulled of the first symbol that you're going comparing it against. And you're going to go from 0 to 1. So now we got to see you got to make the data work out well. So this is where we need a period. So let's do 20 days. There's 22. Let's do 22 days, because there's 22 trading days in a month. So let's find historically correlated or negatively correlated stocks that have shown consistently been that for the past month or so. And that's up to you. You could change it. That's why it's a variable. So we're going to go from negative period all the way until the end of it. So, because the reason we do that is you don't want the whole data set because maybe it's a little too large and you don't really, maybe you're doing a short-term play. It could take away from like things that are really have been correlated right now. So let's think more short-term on that. That's totally user preference. Preference. And we'll do a little check right here. I don't really need to find it. So, also, if we don't want it to be the ticker that we're looking at, right? So that's why we're going to, the I variable has to be something other than Beyond Meat. But in this case, it's fine because Beyond Meat's not on our CSV thing. But if you want to make the code more general, you would definitely want that. So then we're just going to update this dictionary with the ticker symbol and its correlation coefficient that we just calculated at this line of code right here. Dummy variable. Yeah, and then accept. This is our troubleshooting part. You're gonna append that with the, so if this doesn't work, that means Yahoo Finance or this data reader does not have that ticker. So in that case, we want to know for the future, like, hey, this doesn't exist, so update your universe. So it's just for troubleshooting purposes in the future. Okay. So there we're iterating through the 500 stocks in the CSV. We're getting the correlation coefficient, and we are updating the dictionary with the symbol and the related correlation coefficient with respect to Beyond Meat. So that part, it's like getting the data is done now. And we also took care of like troubleshooting for the future, that this is something, hey, these tickers don't exist, or they don't have data for Yahoo Finance, whatever the product that you're using to pull data. So you can go ahead and update that. Like, you know, it's good for the user to know. So now we're going to create the hedges. We're gonna play with the data a little bit to make it look nice. And so let's see. So this is all in a dictionary. Let's put it in a pandas data frame because it's just a little bit easier to work with in the future. Ooh. So now that it's in a pandas data frame, let's sort the values so we could get it the way we want it. Because we don't want it randomly. Right now it's in random in the order of each ticker going down that CSV list. We want it sorted either ascending or descending. So in this case, we don't want it ascending. We want the highest number first and then going down. So the highest we'll do two parts, right? We want, and we're going to graph two parts. We want the most correlated and the least correlated. And we're just going to graph the first one as an example. So the most correlated out of the 500 and the least correlated out of the 500. We're going to reset the index. This is something like, because it just looks a little bit better. Because otherwise, if you don't reset the index, you're going to run into issues finding the most correlated. And also, if you don't add this drop true statement, then it just resets the index, but also puts the old index into a new column, and you just continuously add new columns, and it's not really useful. So let's see what we got so far. Of course I got it for I. Oh. So I don't want to do it all 500, so let's do a little. Let's just do the first, let's do the first 5. So this is showing like the symbol and the correlation. There we go. So the first 5, these are the correlation coefficients, and these are ordered. So this is the most correlated, negative, negativer, most negative. So it seems like it's doing it right. So now we can move on a little bit. So next part, we're gonna get the most correlated one, and we're going to we want to graph the correlation like this. So like we want something like this. Let's do, I don't know, Facebook. So this is a graph of the correlation Beyond Meat with respect to Facebook, and this goes from 1 to -1, and we want something like this. We want our ticker symbol and the graph of our symbol, the graph of whatever the other symbol is, Facebook in this case, and the correlation below it. And we're going to make it axis, or we're going to plot it somewhat pretty like this. It's not going to be candle chart, but it's going to be line graph and something below it all in the same plot. It'll look nice. So let's create a dummy variable, and this is going to be hedges ticker, so the columns ticker, I think. Yeah. And this is going to be the first one. Ooh. So the dummy variable is, we're going through the hedges data frame, and since we have it ascending as false, the highest correlated one, that's the first one, and that's going to be our dummy variable, and this is what we're going to pull the data from. So we're going to try to find the correlation data through this. So instead of df2, it'll be df3, and it'll be dummy variable. And same time period, and create a little highest relation. And we're just going to append, it's just going to be a string or a list of data points. So we're going to go through df1 because it's just a link. Ideally they should be the same length, but then you do run into issues if if it just recently IPO'd or something. So whatever you're comparing it against, do the range list of that. I like try statements because it's just easier. And then we're gonna find the correlation to that. So pretty much, because we're doing the same thing here as here, but now this is more honed in on the most correlated over that period. So copy and paste, and we're gonna go from I minus period though to I. And we're on data frame 3, right? This is this one, the dummy variable one. Yeah, so if we're understanding correctly, we want to graph the correlation part like this, and that requires data points, right? You need an x of 0, 1, x of all the way to x of n, and an associated correlation at that point with respect to beyond meat. So this is just gathering the X data set for further graphing in a little bit. We'll see. If it failed, but it failed here, then we're back to the drawing board and figuring stuff out. And this next part, I'm just going to copy and paste some code that I'm going off of. I just don't really want to, it's just a plotting. I don't really want to go through it all. So I'll explain through it. And so we're going to have two axes, axis 1, axis 2. We're going to, we are going to graph the two stocks on axis 1. Axis 2 is going to be the correlation. So we'll graph this, and then this is going to be the second axis. Pretty simple on this one. You set a title, correlation positive relationship. The X label is just date, the Y label. And these are, for axis 1, your X data set is the index, or the dates of data frame 1. And the axis, the Y axis is your adjusted close price with respect to that date index. And your label is going to be ticker 1. So ticker 1 is just going to be labeled beyond, because we're going to create a legend to make it look nice. Axis, and then you're also going to do the same thing, but with your third data frame, which is whatever this stock turns out to be after 500 iterations, or like after comparing against the whole universe. And on the second one, you're going to do the date and then the highest relation. And this is the correlation part. This is the second axis is what we're graphing as the correlation. And then you're going to put your legend and then just show. So we'll do that at so we did it for the highest positive correlation. So we kind of have to do the same thing for the negative one now. And this is just kind of just a matter of copy and pasting. So where do we start from? Okay. So the data frame for hedges is created. But now we just need to sort it in a different way, right? So let's, for negative correlation, copy and paste and then go through it. So you want to sort it as true now. You want the most negative first, and then going to the least negative. And ideally you could have just do that, but I like to be a little bit organized. I just like to sort stuff for some reason. Makes me feel good. Dummy variable. This is our new data frame. Let's change that to data frame 4 just because. And now this hedges data should be sorted in the opposite direction. So ascending true from -1 to +1. Then we're gonna, let's do, instead of highest, lowest relation. Same thing, we're comparing against Beyond Meat's data frame. Instead of highest, this will be lowest. Correlation, period, same thing, but this is now a data frame 4. Failed here. We could, same type of graph. This will be negative. Date, price, blah, blah, blah. This will be 4. This will be 4. This will also be 4. And this will be, what do I call it, lowest. Negative. And that. So now we could run the code, and let's do this. Let's get rid of this, And this will take some time, you know, so let's see if we got any errors, first of all. Okay, it's going through, and I'll probably edit this part out, but we're going to have some results, and I'll explain to you like what we could do with the results. Okay, I forgot one thing. Totally forgot one thing. We troubleshot the tickers that didn't work, right? And we want to display those. We could write it to a CSV, but we don't really need to do that. We don't care that much. And then also, it's nice to just get a count on how many are not available. But we want to write this to a CSV. So the output results of all the correlated data frames and stuff, let's write it to some place. And I'll do probably same folder. Read that into that output. And I ran it a while ago, so I'll do a new one. Yeah. So now we'll redo this, and I'll edit out. So this might take, I don't know, it's 500 stocks, so it might take like 10 minutes or something. But I'll be back. Okay, so now that ran, I'll ignore this. This is always the case. But it popped out some data. So for Beyond Meat, it seems the most positively correlated in the past 22 days, which is the period that we defined. It happens to be DHI out of the universe that we have. So when Beyond Meat goes up, DHI goes up. It's not a perfect correlation. We could look into it in a little bit, but that's the positive one, DHI. And then the negative correlated, most negative is HUM. I don't know what DHI or HUM is. We'll find out. But Beyond Meat goes up, HUM goes down. Over the past 22 days, yeah, it seems pretty good, right? HUM and DHI. So let's look at the list that it outputted. So HUM is over the past 22 days, negative 84% correlation. And then there's BKNG, Disney. Oh, Disney. And then this is the list that it outputted out of the 500 something stocks. So there was 506, so now there's only 500. So 6 of the stocks didn't make it. And the most correlated is at 78 or 0.78 DHI. Let's see. Yeah, these look like transportation, real estate. Don't know what that is. Airlines. So let's look at DHI first. Positively correlated. Yeah, that looks right. Compared to that graph. So 69.36, right? Let's see, like maybe it has some. Oh, DR Horton, real estate. Got it. Let's look at some options pricing of that. Okay, so this is significantly cheaper, right? So positively correlated, it means it goes in the same way as Beyond Meat. So as a hedge, we would want to go against it, right? So this is all based on the idea that these correlate, like you believe in the historical correlation. And this is subject to change all the time. It's never going to be a perfect hedge with respect to whatever your idea is, in this case, Beyond Meat. But $94 for a contract rather than $420 for a contract in Beyond Meat. So you put 1,000 in, so 1,094 is your total. Yeah, that's 8%, compared to 30%. And if Beyond Meat doesn't go well, if Beyond goes down, and the assumption is DHI also goes down, and then your option price, your put that you bought near the money, or at the money, or near the money, whatever you choose, increases in value. So it's somewhat of it's a hedge, a qualitative hedge. All these ideas are qualitative, and the investor has to make these decisions. But it's at a much cheaper premium than before, because last time, if you wanted to do a hedge, you had to put in $420 for that contract. And then for this one, it's $94 because it's just a cheaper stock. It's less volatile, as you can see. It's less volatile, so it's most likely not going to move as much also. So the price of the option is probably not going to be... so options really depends on the price movement. So $69, that's not bad. It's not like a $5, $10 stock, so there is possibility of motion. It kind of looks like in a downward trend. There's some resistance at the 50-day, but it could be a qualitative hedge. And in the same sense, we could look at HUM as a hedge, right? What's HUM? Hummus. No, Humana Healthcare. Okay. So Humana Healthcare is negatively correlated. So meaning if Beyond goes up, Humana goes down, according to our 22-day period. Look at that. That makes sense. 9% down over the past blah 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 days, and 24%. Oh, Beyond's popping. 22% up. But the idea is the Humana acts as an opposite in an opposite direction. So if you're kind of overall, positive on the market, and you want a hedge, like, hey, I think the market's going to go up or blah blah blah. In this case, you would want to call on Humana. And you definitely don't want one because it's $520. So Humana's out. We're not. Let's do BKNG. Let's see what BKNG's at. Because that's more than $420. Booking holding. I got a feeling this is going to be pricey too. $2,000, bro. Yeah, these are $1,000 contracts. Nope, not booking. Disney. Disney's not. Disney and MasterCard. Let's do Disney. And this is just the reality. You get some data, qualitative data, or somewhat quantitative, and then you just try to find something. Disney's $200. Wait, you want Disney to go up $214? So half the price. So 15%, right? You're putting a 15% hedge rather than a 30% on Beyond. So the idea is Disney's correlated according to our list that we've created. These two were too expensive, and you just go down the list and find something that makes sense to you. And this is research, you don't have to actually act on this, but it's just cool to see. So 0.83 correlation in the past 22 days. Let's look at Disney. Yep, it's pretty low correlation. Oh crap, I've been doing this wrong. We don't want Facebook. We want it to compare to Beyond Meat. So yeah, this is very negatively correlated. So what was the other one? Humana. Negatively correlated, even better. The period, you want to make sure the period's at 20 because that's what we did. Or was it 22? Forgot. It's 22. Okay. Match that up. What was the other one? DHI. Yeah, very positively correlated DHI, DR Horton to Beyond Meat. But let's look at Disney. So the idea is Disney's very negatively correlated. So when Beyond goes up, Disney goes down. When Beyond goes down, Disney goes up. And that's with respect to this area of 22 days or whatever the data was generated off of 22 trading days. So a play on this as a hedge is if Beyond goes down, that would indicate Disney, according to our research, would go up. So you'd buy a call, and that's half the price, about half the price as a Beyond Meat put. So you know you don't have to spend as much on a hedge. And also you're part of the overall, you're diversified across the market now and indirectly diversified across the market, along with being hedged, a qualitative hedge that's historically been shown. And this is where, you change up the research. Maybe 22 trading days isn't enough. Maybe your Beyond Meat play is like a 3 months out or 4 months out or like a year out. Then you got to play with the trading, the period, and see like, hey, I want something historically proven. It could be an ETF, less volatile. So you play with your parameters and to get the research that you want, and then you qualitatively look at stuff and to see, hey, is this something I want to be a part of or not? Yep, these are the tickers that are not available. Berkshire, something else, CNP and CTL. I feel like these are oil companies. Utilities. Okay. Finance, rental, leasing. Okay. And this is perfectly correlated because it's itself. But that was a video on just some basic hedging, like a hedge finder. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll continue to put some more research out here. I think it's fun to articulate like what I do, and this is definitely a lot of fun for me. So thanks. Have a good one.